You know what would be great for the opening of that film? Because it closed on Rey, like, handing Luke the lightsaber or whatever. It should just open with, like, immediately after that happens, and Luke's just like, but I was gonna go to Toshi Station and get some power converter. I don't want to train a Jedi.
Welcome back to Cartridge Based Radio. I'm Donald, once again joined by Brad.
Hello!
Brad, we're children of a bygone era, and we were once told that the revolution would be televised. No one told us the revolution would be terrible and feature Aerosmith.
That was definitely a surprise to me. Just out of curiosity, I mean, in general, before we dive into Revolution X, do you like Aerosmith?
Brad, Aerosmith is the worst band has ever existed. I would rather listen to Coldplay than Aerosmith. And I kinda would rather be thrown into a volcano than listen to Coldplay, if that gives you a scale.
Was that your opinion of Aerosmith previous to playing Revolution X?
Yes.
Okay. So this game never really had much of a chance with you because the main draw of it was that it featured a band that you hate and their music.
I didn't tell you about my hate for Aerosmith when you're like, should we play Revolution X? I did not know how Aerosmith this game was. I figured it was them on the title screen looking digitized, but boy, they're all over this piece of hot garbage.
I mean, there's some not that recognizable cuts of their songs in this. I thought there'd be more Aerosmith. Like, if you went out and, like, spent a lot of money to have Aerosmith be in your game, I would have expected that you would be playing as a member of Aerosmith. And instead, they're just kind of in little video clips in between levels. They're like, oh, we left you this tape for you to watch.
I want to explain to the viewers how stupid the Aerosmith integration is into this video game if they have never experienced it. There's a part where you're in, like, a green room, and you shoot a TV, and a video of Steven Tyler pops up.
Which is how all TVs respond to being shot. It's a defense mechanism.
Yes. He tells you about this New Order Now group, which are trying to take over the world, and only Aerosmith knows about this. And he says, you have to find my car.
Yeah.
And then his hand comes out of the television and throws you keys. That encapsulates how stupid this game is right there.
You know what's even stupider is when you find their car. He doesn't say find my car, not find Steven Tyler's car. He said find our car, Aerosmith's car. 5-person band. They're driving a Lamborghini Diablo. 2-seater. They co-own it, apparently.
It's a timeshare Lamborghini Diablo. And for some reason it has like a 10-inch TV inlaid into the dash. It's like, hey, let's buy one of the hottest production cars of this year, and can you put a giant CRT TV into the dash?
Just like a giant 1993 TV.
And can you put 4 buttons below it so people can select which country they would like to go to after viewing a video of us? I guess, can you please tell us about Revolution X and all its details?
Sure. Revolution X is a arcade shooter that was later ported to home consoles, but the arcade version is one of those ones that like has like a gun mounted to the cabinet, and then you shoot at the screen like T2 was. And the big draw of this game is that it stars Aerosmith, the hottest band of 1994 when this game actually came out, I guess. The really weird thing about the timing of this game's release is that it came out in 1994. Aerosmith had put out their first album in 1973. So this is a band that had already been around for 20 years. Most bands, 1, 2 albums and they're done. And Aerosmith was still popular. They won the MTV Video of the Year award the prior year for Crying. So this was a band that somehow managed to be popular for 20 years. And the moment that this game came out, like, coincided with the moment when people were like, I'm starting to get tired of Aerosmith. Their song was on the radio all the time for the prior year leading up to this. And by the time the game came out, like everybody was just sort of like over Aerosmith. So out of a 20-year career, this game managed to pick the exact moment that people were like, we're done with these guys.
For those who need to understand how terrible this game is, Brad mentioned the cabinet had a mounted gun like Terminator 2, and when it came to the home console, the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, those don't have a gun mounted to your coffee table.
No.
So you use the directional pad to move your crosshairs around.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's really, really bad. And also, I'm not a good science person. Brad, how destructive is throwing a CD at somebody?
Well, I mean, this is an experiment you could probably carry out in your own home. According to this game, it's more destructive than bullets. If you throw a CD at somebody, it'll explode and they'll die. It's like throwing a grenade at them.
Maybe it's just Aerosmith's albums are so toxic, they explode on contact. So, while playing this game, I think I figured out who you're playing.
Okay, like who the protagonist is?
Yes.
Okay.
This is going to blow your mind. It is Janie, because she has got a gun.
That does kind of make her a leading candidate for who the protagonist of this game is. I was thinking about this too, and the idea I came up with was someone in their 40s. First of all, it tells you in the storyline that they're like rounding up all the youth and like imprisoning them. This New World Order or whatever they're called.
New Order Now.
Yeah, New Order Now. They're imprisoning all the youth and like putting down all these rules. There's no video games or movies or anything fun. Aerosmith is still free to do whatever they want because they're not fun and they're old. I figured like the protagonist of this game is not been captured one and really loves Aerosmith. So this has to be like some dude in his 40s. That's who you're playing as, revolutionary teenagers of the 1990s. Your dad
is probably just like a roadie named Mitch. So you have a leather jacket on because it likes bringing your hand up every once in a while to show your cool leather jacket. And when you find the car, a bad audio clip of the guy goes, "Oh yeah." So maybe you're the Kool-Aid man.
Does the Kool-Aid man wear leather jackets, though?
I think there was some art where they tried to make him edgy, where he wore a leather jacket in the late 80s, early 90s.
He just, like, burst through a wall. Oh, yeah! Sit on it!
So, the first thing that happens in this game is you're fighting a helicopter.
Yes.
They don't really explain it. They're like, Aerosmith is playing a concert tonight, and then you're fighting a helicopter, as one does on the way to an Aerosmith concert. But the camera in this game confuses me endlessly, Brad. As the first scene, you're flying parallel to this helicopter, and then you're at the roof of a building, and you scroll slowly down the building to behind a brick wall.
Yeah.
Does that mean your guy was flying and then he landed to fight some garbage cans and then leaped a wall and then slowly started like floating upwards? Is Mitch Jesus? Flying Aerosmith fan Jesus.
He might be Hawkman.
Oh.
That might be, kind of the secret of this game is that you're actually like a not very powerful superhero who can sort of fly sometimes. The camera in this game turns you into like one of the most indecisive protagonists in the game because it's constantly panning back and forth through the level. And it's like, oh, I'm going into the club. Oh, no, wait, I'm going to run down this way. And then I'm going to come back. And then I'm going to run down that way again because I can't make up my mind where I'm trying to get to.
Brad, that's because they didn't want to make more art for this game. So they just pan the camera back and forth across the same piece 5 times. And for some reason, you raise the camera, but the bad guys still come out at the exact same spot. So by your 5th pass, all you see is the top of their heads. He's floating towards the ceiling, guy. What do we do?
How much of the budget for this game do you think was left over after they paid for Aerosmith? It looks like it was maybe about $20 they had left. They copy-pasted the one guy to be every enemy in the game. They didn't have enough money to design real levels, so you're constantly just panning back and forth through them like you're lost.
Wait, that's not true. Not all enemies are the same in this game.
Okay.
The last level has knockoff Power Rangers in a Japanese factory, and it felt kind of racist.
I forgot about the knockoff Power Rangers. Everything about this game feels kind of racist. The Amazon level, I'm not sure that the people who made this game know where the Amazon is, because you get attacked by Zulu warriors on your way to the Amazon temple.
That really checks out if you're racist.
Yeah.
That level in the Japanese factory, I had no idea what was going on. I think it was designed to eat your quarters at the end, and you keep running down these hallways and it's not explaining what you have to do. But more importantly, when you select what level you want to go to, different members of Aerosmith tell you about the level.
Yes, and this must have been so confusing to the members of Aerosmith, because they're not in this game a lot other than Steven Tyler. So, like, Joe Perry appears in this game, I think, once, and all he does is he says, "These maggots are putting chemicals in the food, man." And that's it. Like, if you're Joe Perry, you showed up to the game studio one day and they're like, "Here's your one line." And he's like, "What does this mean?" They're like, "It doesn't matter." He must have walked out of there like so confused as to like, what just happened? He's just like, why are maggots putting stuff in food?
He walked out of there thinking, "Hey, I'm Joe Perry, the only talented member of Aerosmith." And then he smiled and got in a cab and drove away.
Steven Tyler is very talented. He can impersonate Joan Rivers like nobody else I know without even trying. Like, just the older he gets, the more and more he just looks like Joan Rivers.
I was really disappointed the song from Armageddon wasn't in this, because I just remember when that movie came out and the joy I lived through in every other song being played on the radio was that song from Armageddon.
Yeah, that movie came out after this game, so that wasn't going to happen.
Oh, I know, but I'm just telling you about my joyous summer where they played that song
over and over. Yeah, it was exactly like the summer 5 years prior where they played the Crying video every other video. And it's like, here's Alicia Silverstone as a teenager. You know you're going to watch that. Here's a Nate Dogg video. And then we're going to show Crying again.
Like, I really wanted to go see Armageddon, but it was a huge struggle for me. Like, they're going to play that song. But then I found out it's at the end credits and you can bail before that happens.
That was the thing that stopped you from wanting to go see Armageddon.
Brad, it's about guys who work on an oil rig going to an asteroid in space. How could anybody not want to see that? There's a point where Bruce Willis is like, "I can't train astronauts to drill in space, but you can train oil rig workers to be an astronaut." I'm like, do you know how smart you have to be an astronaut? You can teach those guys how to dig a hole. I'm very certain of it. Faster than you can teach a guy who works on an oil rig how not to die in space.
See, here's the thing about astronauts is there are, what, like 20 of them? Maybe in this country. Like, it's a very, very, very select program. Very few people get to be astronauts, so they can be super picky. They can decide that they're only going to take the absolute smartest ones. Maybe you could be a total dumbass and still be an astronaut, but they don't have to take the dumbasses. They can take the smart people. But maybe being an astronaut is actually super easy. They just, make it very rigorous just because they can. Because the candidate pool is so much bigger than the number of people that'll actually get to be astronauts.
Oh, that's a good point. Also, it was probably funnier for Billy Bob Thornton to shoot a bunch of oil rig workers into space just to see what would happen. Like, we didn't even tell these guys this asteroid's going to miss Earth by 100,000 miles. We just wanted to shoot oil rig workers into space.
He's got a contract with a rival drilling company.
Oh, we just made Armageddon better. Yeah, so Revolution X. The end of the first level, you get to see Aerosmith on stage in all 4 frames of their glory as they gyrate back and forth. And then the New World or New Order Now arrives, and they really want Aerosmith alive for some reason.
I think to use as in their interrogation camps or something. Give us the codes or you're going to have to watch more Aerosmith concerts.
Are you going to waterboard me? No, we're going to make you talk to Steven Tyler for 20 minutes. Okay, here is all the information you need. So you go to various places. Like you said, you go to the Amazon.
Yes.
You go to Japan. What's the other two?
I don't know.
Yeah. They're memorable, listeners. Very, very memorable. Brad has a page of notes in front of him and didn't bother to write down the other two. I guess you could classify this as a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in first person and you're shooting.
In a first-person shooter, you have control over where your character goes, and this is on rails. So this is, an on-rails shooter where you're just moving the aiming thing around.
That is not true. Every once in a while, they give you a choice. Which way do you want to go?
You get to shoot the direction you want to go in.
It means... which way do you want it to scroll first before it scrolls back the other way?
Yeah.
And when you push the button, it goes, What is that? Apparently, you get a trophy for breast sizes.
The Mammy Awards. Yeah.
Why is it there?
It rhymes with Grammy.
I was confused. I was like, why do you show that to me at the end of every level? Like, stop, please.
Oh, no, And
Aerosmith, that was probably their one thing. Okay, you gotta put this in because this is a hilarious in-joke between us.
They're just like, as an apology for that level that you just had to play through, we're just gonna remind you that boobs exist. It's like the Grammys, but it's the Mammies. Get it? Like, no, we get it.
The producer reached down and, took the 9mm out of the artist's mouth as they said that. That's the producer's job on this game, was keeping the 9mm out of the art team's mouths.
Oh, so here's a fun fact about Revolution X. As you go through the levels, there's women in bikinis in cages that you rescue by shooting them, of course, because everything that you interact with in this game is done by shooting it. But you shoot these women, and that, instead of killing them, that frees them. The women are played all by the same actress. So you're just rescuing the same woman over and over and over, and all her twin sisters and clones from the New World Order cloning facility, I guess. But that actress also plays the lead villain because, again, the budget for this game was about $20 after they paid off Aerosmith. It's like an episode of Super Friends where, they use the same voice for Wonder Woman as one of the villains. You're just rescuing them from herself, basically.
So we have this supervillain who hates fun movies, music, and video games, who cloned herself, put her clones in a cage, and then Janie, I guess that's player 2, and Rhodey Mitch come along and free her clones, but to what end?
I don't know. What I think is interesting is that this woman hates fun. She bans everything fun, and then she goes around dressing like a sex worker. It's like an all-leather outfit, super high-heeled boots, and a low-cut top, and whips and stuff. And it's like, I hate everything fun, but except me, apparently.
The design of her costume was, hey, have you guys played Final Fight?
Let's crank that up to 11. And the funny thing about that, and it comes back to the way they treated Aerosmith too, is they get this woman, and then you don't see her for hardly any of the game. She's on the very first intro screen. If you sit and let it run for 2 minutes and go through all the other intros, it'll eventually show her. And she's in the very last screen. And it's if you're going to make the effort to get Aerosmith, and you're going to make the effort to put a sexy woman in the game, put them in the game. I don't think that's the best way to make a game more appealing. But if you're going to do it, then do it. Commit to it. Put that woman all over the place. Just be like, hey, remember this good-looking lady? Here she is again. Remember Aerosmith? The point of this game? Here they are. Don't hide it all till the last screen.
That's fair. You know what else you should put in this game?
What?
Some sort of acknowledgement that you're taking damage.
Did it ever feel like anything that you did or happened to you affected anything? Guys run out, they shoot at you. It's not like most rail shooters, you're only getting attacked by one or two people at once and you usually the point is to kill them before they get a shot off, and like shots are fatal. Like if you play Lethal Enforcers and a guy pops up and shoots you, you lose a life. Here, like 10 guys come out and they just stand in place and they all shoot at you. And it doesn't feel like you're taking any damage. You shoot at them, and it takes so many bullets to kill them, it doesn't feel like you're doing any damage to them. Like, the whole thing just feels like nothing has any effect on anything at all.
I think the reason you take damage was all just a vehicle to make you listen to this sound clip of Steven Tyler yelling, "Don't give up." Or no, play it again. He says something, and it's all screechy, and wow. It's not as bad as when he screeches Revolution X at the beginning. Like, I can't imagine the poor arcade worker who had this thing running all the time.
Oh, man.
And it just screaming Revolution X every 40 seconds, trying to trick kids to come over and put their money in and be like, what's an Aerosmith?
Oh, man. I mean, think about that. It screams Revolution X over and over again, and then it just plays a badly recorded loop of an Aerosmith song over and over. Like, that's all it does all day long.
As someone who is not a fan of Aerosmith music and actively avoids them, I couldn't tell what songs I was supposed to be hearing while playing the game.
Here's the thing. I like some Aerosmith songs. They're not my favorite band, but I think they're okay. I like some of the songs that allegedly are in this game. I did not recognize those songs when I came upon them in this game. The cuts are so short and they're so badly done that a song I've heard 100 times, I didn't recognize when I got to it in the game. You know, I'll go back later and it's like, oh yeah, the background music to this level was that song. I'm like, no, I like that song. I would have noticed that.
I don't think I can name 5 Aerosmith songs. There's the Janie's Got a Gun.
Yeah.
The Armageddon song.
Okay.
Walk This Way?
Yes.
Or is that a Run DMC song?
They did it first, and then they did a cover with, or not a cover, they did a version with Run DMC.
Okay.
You're up to 3.
Dude Looks Like a Lady?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna win this game. Not Sweet Child of Mine.
That's Guns N' Roses. If you mistake Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith one more time, we're fighting.
Okay, that song that was in Guitar Hero 3.
That's not naming an Aerosmith song. That's saying...
Slash comes out... No, that's Guns N' Roses. Never mind.
I'm getting in the car right now.
I wish this was a video feed because that last one was just for you, just to watch your face go through a torrent of emotions. No, there's, what is that song? It's gonna bug me now. There's like...
This is good radio right now.
There's half an Aerosmith song that I like, but then he gets screechy, and then I have to turn it off.
That's every one of them.
Anyway, who cares? Revolution X, Game of the Year.
There's Love in an Elevator, which is basically just like... I mean, listening to it now, it's like, man, this is just like a 5-minute song about sexual harassment.
Isn't most music from that era a 5-minute song about sexual harassment?
Yeah, but this one is, you know, like in a work environment. So it's like the members of Aerosmith tried to imagine what it'd be like to have a job in an office, and then they wrote Love in an Elevator. And like all the innuendos are like, I'll teach you how to hold that line. Meet you in the mailroom. It's like a seminar on how to get away with sexual harassment, because like it's not even like there's no innuendos there. It's just like work phrases, and it's just like they're like, but it means sex when I say it, because I'm Steven Tyler.
My face is melting off. You probably want to kiss it. I don't know. It's just layers upon layers of crappy game. Like, Brad, I have a serious question about Revolution X for you.
Okay.
What was this game before someone said, hey, we got the Aerosmith license?
See, I don't know if there was a game before that. I prefer to think that they got the Aerosmith license, and then they're like, well, now we got to make a game out of it. What makes sense for Aerosmith? I know, we'll have them overthrowing an oppressive regime. Obviously, that's what Aerosmith does in their free time.
And they're the only ones with the knowledge of this regime. Everyone else seems pretty unaware that New Order now has moved into Los Angeles or wherever it is.
Yeah, it starts in LA.
Let's talk about that. Is it level 2 that you're chasing the helicopter through the city? Shooting windows out of random buildings.
You shoot up a couple of skyscrapers, you should be being chased by the authorities and put in prison. You're dangerous.
But then the authorities come in on rollerblades to fight you. And they leap between buildings on rollerblades.
They shoot automatic weapons on rollerblades. Like, I'm not a huge gun guy, but I gotta think that, like, you'd be moving backwards the whole time. Or fall over, probably.
Recently, we talked about Streets of Rage and how hard it would be to fight somebody while on rollerblades.
Yeah.
Punching someone on rollerblades is impossible. Shooting a sawed-off shotgun on rollerblades, even more impossible.
It would look like something out of a low-budget comedy. Like, you take one shot and you just see the guy, like, flying backwards on his rollerblades, like, across the room.
And he's doing this on the rooftop of a building.
Yes.
Do you know what happens when you get to the edge on your rollerblades on a rooftop building? You fall off the building.
Yeah.
You know what catches you at the bottom?
The ground?
Death. Just there with his sweet arms extended like, oh, here comes a dummy.
Boy, that really puts the street hockey scene in Clerks into perspective, doesn't it?
So after you do that, you meet the helicopter. And this is the second crappiest helicopter fight I've ever had in a Sega Genesis game. The first crappiest helicopter fight being E-SWAT.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Super Thunderblade.
Okay, third crap, no.
Aerosmith's moving up in the rankings here.
No, I think Super Thunderblade's better than Aerosmith, but worse than E-SWAT.
Okay.
So, Brad, you know aviation or aeronautics, right? Like, you have a degree in it, I'm assuming, since you do this show.
Yeah, it's just one of my many degrees, yes.
I have an aeronautics question. How many parts can fall off a helicopter before it can't fly anymore?
It depends on the part, I suppose, but not many.
Let's say a stabilizer on the left side, but the right side stabilizer is still intact.
No, you probably need both. The thing about designing aircraft is that you need to do it as efficiently as possible, and that means that there really aren't a lot of redundant pieces. Everything serves a very important purpose, or it doesn't get put on the helicopter in the first place.
So you chip away at this helicopter
forever.
Yes, like 4 minutes long, and I'm not even joking. I had like 900 CDs at this point because I didn't know which button shot the CDs. So I'd just been using the machine gun. Finally found the CD button, and I unloaded my CDs on this thing. And it gets to the point where it's just where the pilot sits and the rotor blade.
Yeah.
And then apparently they have a missile launcher hidden in the nose cone of what's left of the helicopter.
That's a real good weapon design right there. Is let's have a weapon hidden on this helicopter that we can't use until after it's been damaged for a while.
But much like a shotgun and rollerblades, you fire a rocket out of the nose of your helicopter without any stabilizers, you are going to be caught in the sweet embrace of death when you smack into the street far, far below.
Be a nice spirally death.
It makes no sense because you're on a rooftop fighting the helicopter, and when you beat it, you're suddenly in like an abandoned lot with Aerosmith's Lamborghini Diablo. Like, that's the transition. You're like, oh, here's the Lamborghini Diablo and a bunch of people who just died from a meth overdose.
So they added music for the home versions of the game. They did not have the budget to do it well. The intro screen, they put in a loop of a song that wasn't in the arcade version, and they didn't get it right the first time. The way most songs work is, especially rock songs, and especially this song that they used, is that there's a riff, and then it repeats over and over and over. So if you're going to do a loop, and you can only put in part of the song, you record that whole riff, and then you loop it, and it kind of sounds like the song until you get to where, the chorus should be, and it doesn't change. But that's how you would do it. Well, they tried it, and they went like 1 second too long, and then they looped it back, and it sounds really, really brutally harsh. You can hear where the cut is. You know, for a game where music was kind of the point of the game, they did a really terrible job putting music into the game.
Everything about this game is jarring. The arcade version, actually, the music is recognizable, mostly because you had dedicated hardware. You know, arcades were just so much more advanced than a Sega Genesis or an SNES. It did not survive the downgrading very well, and they used a lot of cartridge space for the amount of video clips and grainy audio they needed of Steven Tyler throwing you a pair of keys through a broken TV. Because he has like 4 video clips in that section, and they're all terrible. He's telling you about this secret organization. He knows a lot about it, but he doesn't like reveal who the bad guy is or bad lady is. You think that's like upfront information? Like, go to the White House and give them this person's name, and then you just kick back while the army deals with this.
Well, I'm assuming that they've either already defeated the army or have infiltrated it, because like they're running the country. You know, this is like the U.S. has been turned into something akin to North Korea, where like, you know, it's a dictatorship and everything fun is banned. Which is kind of weird because you think about like the opening scene is you're going to see Aerosmith at a club. So the club is somehow still open. Aerosmith's playing a concert even though music's been banned. All the people of concert going age have already been imprisoned. So this is like a concert just for you. Like Aerosmith is like, we're going to play this illegal concert. We're going to advertise it publicly and only one guy is coming to the show.
I would like to think that this New Order Now actually only took over about 8 blocks of downtown LA, and that's the extent of their circle of influence, and the police are just a little too busy to deal with them right now. Like, there's some idiots on rollerblades wearing the yellow coats from Final Fight shooting shotguns. We probably should go deal with that, but after lunch.
You know, you mentioned Coldplay earlier in the show.
I'm sorry, I did do that.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking, like, you know, Aerosmith had been around for 20 years when this game came out. If this game came out right now, you know, like, who's the equivalent of Aerosmith band that would star in this game? And I think it might actually be Coldplay. Like, I was kind of thinking earlier, maybe like Pearl Jam, maybe Foo Fighters, but I think you nailed it. Like, if you made Revolution X today, Coldplay would be a game about Coldplay.
Foo Fighter keeps releasing great albums.
Well, I mean, Aerosmith was the same way in the 90s. Maybe
it's just I haven't liked them since the go, that I've never been like, oh, great, a new Aerosmith album. I've always been like, oh, no.
Oh, no, I'm about to only see, like, the same video on MTV for the next 3 years.
I mean, it could be Coldplay. Trying to think who else.
Like, I can't think of a lot of bands that, like, you know, have been around for 15, 20 years and are still active and in the public eye.
You could probably say Metallica.
I mean, they're even older than that. They're almost, like, too old to be the stars. Revolution X would have had to have come out 10 years ago instead of now.
That's true. I don't know if Coldplay is actually 20 years old, are they?
They might only... Well, they're definitely not 20. I thought they might be around 15, but... that might be even pushing it a little. They might only more than 10 and maybe less than 15. So yeah, Coldplay isn't quite there either.
20 years, jeez. Linkin Park?
Nope, they're not popular anymore. Like, keep in mind, Aerosmith was popular when this game came out. They had just hit that point of jumping the shark, like, within a year of this game's release. Previously, they were popular. And I can't think of, like, a band from 20 years ago that's popular now.
I mean, it's a neat thought exercise, and yes, Coldplay could easily be dropped into Revolution X, and I would care equally as much about saving that band as I did about saving this band. Follow-up question.
Yeah.
The Sega CD was out at this time, and the arcade has way better video clips of, like, the band performing on stage and the whole debacle where he throws the keys out of the TV. But this did not get a Sega CD port.
Well, okay, keep in mind, this is a gun game that they didn't include support for any of the gun controllers available for this console. So if they weren't going to make their gun game work with the Genesis gun, they sure as hell weren't going to, like, make this game work on the Sega CD.
Brad, every single Sega CD game is a gun game without the gun.
Yeah.
Literally. So it was like probably going to be the easiest port ever. And they had to downgrade the assets to fit on the cartridge where they wouldn't have had to do that with the CD. It's more work to get it on the cartridge than dump it on the CD.
Crisscross Make My Video was not better.
Sewer Shark was better than Revolution X. I don't really have much more to say about the Sega Genesis Super Nintendo arcade classic Revolution X. Did you beat the game?
Not when I played it this time around for the show. I beat it like 10, 15 years ago.
How did you figure out the Japanese factory at the end? Like, is there a trick to it?
Shoot the guys over and over and over and throw CDs at them?
Well, they keep showing you 3 hallways, and you have to pick a hallway to go down.
How much of Revolution X do you think I managed to retain for the last 15 years?
Well, I mean, being Aerosmith's #1 fan, I assumed 100% of it.
I remember when you rescue Joe Perry, he flies away on his rocket guitar.
Man, that guy is so cool.
And I remember that the last stage takes place at Wembley Stadium. And I think, and I'm not even 100% sure of this, I think the lady in the leather outfit, like, turns into a tank. That doesn't sound right, but I think that happens.
I'm going to believe you, because that just makes the game a little bit fun and endearing if someone morphs into a tank for no reason. Is the tank made of latex?
I would assume so.
What we should do next week is play a good game.
Okay.
Because we've played some bad games here in recent history. So, all right, Brad. Dreaded final thought on Revolution X.
Everybody should check it out because it's really fun and they won't regret it.
What? No, you should not do that. Even if you're the biggest Aerosmith fan ever, don't do that.
Probably especially if you're the biggest Aerosmith fan ever. You really don't want to experience this.
No, you'll just be full of sadness and regret. I doubt if you're the biggest Aerosmith fan ever, you've made it this far into the show, though. So, alright, that was Revolution X. The Revolution was not televised. It was on cartridge. It was bad. The video clips were bad. The music was bad. The control was bad. The guy in yellow coat was pretty cool.
Yeah. You know, researching this article did bring me one of my favorite sentences on Wikipedia. The very first line of the Revolution X Wikipedia entry says, "Not to be confused with Dance Dance Revolution X," which I think is probably for the best if no one were to make that mistake.
Brad, that would be the most shocking experience to a Dance Dance Revolution fan of their entire life when they fired that up and they're like, why isn't my dance pad working? And why does this game blow?
I guess if you want a final thought, then, until next week, just remember, music can be a weapon.
All right. Well, if you want to get a hold of us and tell us about how much music is a weapon or how bad Aerosmith is, all our contacts over there in the show notes. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook. You can email us directly and say hi and whatnot. All right. That's going to probably do it for this Aerosmith-centric episode. I'm Donald, and that was Brad, and we will see you next week. See, I had forgotten about Crisscross Make My Video until this moment, and as punishment, we're going to do a show in the future about Crisscross Make My Video.
So who's going to be your guest